Hi all and welcome to the episode 2 of my build guide series. Today we are focusing on the monk rogue build that you have seen me use in my YouTube series playthroughs, and I've done some research and playtesting, and Karlach is actually the best suited origin member to have this particular build. In my YouTube series you've seen me use it on Astarion, and it is completely acceptable to use him for this build. Lae'zel can also use this build, but she has better builds that can be used, and she'll focus, as will Astarion. I'll do a build for all the Elgin companions. Eventually it's just taking time. As a sidebar note, back to this one. So today we are going to be focusing on Karlach, on this monk rogue build. We will do leveling, I will show gear, I will show a combat demonstration. This playthrough focus is on balance, but this build is totally appropriate for tactician. I personally haven't tested it in honor mode, and there are no mods installed on my BG3 game. So this is patch 7 on PC using controller with no mods. Hope you enjoyed the build guide. We now move on to the leveling section of the guide, and on the screen now you can see that Karlach is all stood there waiting. I've chosen this area so you don't see anything in my camp. I'm trying to avoid story spoilers, but not necessarily gear spoilers. So this build can be based on Karlach ideally. It can also work to a lesser degree on Astarion, and to a much lesser degree Lae'zel. Lae'zel has way better builds that she can use other than this one, but it can work on this one. The idea behind this is that you have recruited Karlach, you are at least level 4, and you have unlocked withers in order to do the Respecs. Anything prior to level 4 and this build will not work. That's because it relies on a feat, and your first feat is at level 4. So prior to that, do whatever you like, doesn't matter, but at level 4 you can then respec into this build on whichever character you prefer. This is going to be featured and focused on Karlach. So I've already respec'd it into level 1, so let's just have a look at her now. This will be obviously level 2, so you got the stat line on the right hand side there. Strength, intelligence and charisma are all sacrificed down to 8. Constitution at 15, dexterity of 15, and we put the +1 in there to make it 16, and then wisdom at 15 with the +2 making it 17. Skill wise for Karlach we choose acrobatics and stealth. No other skills are appropriate that she has unlocked at that or has choices of. As of patch 7, non-TAV characters, there's no point having any dialogue. The only passive skills are worth taking are perception, survival, maybe religion, maybe investigation, and that's about it. Oh, maybe arcana, but arcana's covered by Gale. So I've got a whole other video on skills if you want to go and watch that, so let's move on from skills. So for her choice it's acrobatics and stealth. So at level 2 there's nothing to do. We unlock key points which fuels all of our monk abilities, which we'll get at level 3. We get unarmored movement, so we move 3 meters more, as you can see. And patient defense, I never use this. You might want to use it in tactician. I have not tried this build in honor mode. I never use Step of the Wind disengage, because why disengage from an enemy we can kill them? I do love using Step of the Wind dash for the unlimited jumps, and it also doubles your movement speeds, which is awesome. At level 3 then we choose our subclass, as well as getting another key point we also get deflect and missiles. So your reaction then can be used from a ranged weapon, and the system will roll a d10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your monk's level and it's all described there on the screen. If it's less than 0, you can use a key point to deflect the missile back at the enemy firing on you, and potentially also kill them, which I've done in the past. It's hilarious. Onto the subclass then, we of course go way of the open hand. I don't use push. I have a whole thing about pushing and shoving that's covered in the skills video as well. I have used stagger in tactician game mode, but not balanced. In balanced mode, I only use topple. Topple is absolutely awesome. Not only do you do an absolute ton of damage, but you also knock the target prone, or possibly. On non-bosses, it's most of the time, unless they're as Karlach is a Zariel Tiefling, she gets the Legacy of Anna Searing Smite. We'll ignore that because she's not using weapons. At Monk level 4, we get another key point, and we also get Slow Fall. And this is where the build really pops off, because we then come down and we pick up Tavern Brawler, which doubles our strength modifier to the damage and attack rolls for unarmed attacks. Sorry. We also get +1 in strength or constitution. We'll take constitution, which now gives us a constitution of 16. And that's it. That's how we do the level 1 to 4 at the level 4 respec. And then from there you play through the game, going up levels up to level 10. So we'll cover that here. There are no respecs on this character until level 10. And that's it. There's just one respec at level 10. This is why the stat line is done as it is. We do end up with an odd wisdom modifier for quite a long time, but I just don't like doing a lot of respecs, and taking the wisdom down to 16 will just give us 2 points. You could put it in strength if you want to, but or intelligence or charisma, just to get those up for minuses, but it honestly, I don't see no issue with it at all. I've never had a problem. The strength is resolved around an elixir, which we'll cover in the gear section. So at level 5 then, more key point, a second attack, and we get stunning strike as well, which can be quite helpful. I have used this a couple of times in balanced, more in tactician mode as well. And then we get branding smite. At level 6, this is where we get quite a lot of damage. We get a massive damage spike here, more key points, more movement, empowered strikes. So our unarmored attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming enemies' resistances and immunity to non-magical damage. We also get wholeness of body, which I have never ever used. So I always have a bard in my party, so I get 3 short rests, and you get a plethora of key points. So outside of long boss fights, which I generally do a long rest after anyway, I don't run out of key points, and the healing is negotiable. The other big point about it is we get our manifestations. This is an extra damage bonus on top of your damage. I usually go for manifestation of soul for the entire game. I've never used manifestation of body. You might need to use that in tactician, but again, I just stay with soul. There is one particular part of the game where the enemies have some nasty reactions to taking radiant damage. When you come across that, you'll switch to manifestation of mind and do the psychic damage. Level 7, new key point, we get evasion as well, which is some half damage on dex saves. We also get stillness of mind, which is an automatic thing that happens. At level 8 then, we'd get another key point. We also get our next feat, so this would be a plus in dexterity, because our initiative is starting to lessen a bit at this level, and we are starting to lose that slight edge in combat where we end up going second or even third with enemies going forth before us. So just bump up our dexterity. to get that initiative, and also to get that armor class up and some more saving throws. Nothing happens at level 9. You do get more movement speed, another key point, and you get these key resonations. But I've never used them because you need to use an action to set it up, and then you need to use a bonus action to do stuff, and then a key point. So I just use unarmored. My normal actions on this build are normally unarmored attack, which is just like the normal basic punch, basic attack, and then bonus actions are either reserved for Step of the Wind, dash, jumping as part of Step of the Wind, dash, or topple. That's it. Level 10, more key point, more movement speed, and purity of body. But don't get used to it, because at level 10 we do a respec. But we will accept that. And that's it. So you've reached the lofty heights at level 10. You're at the end of Act 2, the beginning of Act 3, round about that transition area. And this is an ideal time to do a full respec on most of your characters. Re-gear, you've probably collected a ton of gear, and that way at level 10 also you get the chance to start messing around multi-classing, which we will come back to in a moment. I'm just gonna off screen go and respec Karlach back down to level 1, so to avoid any story spoilers that may be happening in the camp. Back shortly. So here we are then, back in a very almost same spot. I just whipped over to Withers, did the little respec there, and we're back in our little corner of our little shed in Rivington. This is one of the main camps in Act 3. So we have done our level 1 again, reset back down to level 1, so you can see the stats are the same there, and it is now suggesting level 2 monk. In fact, we don't do monk at all. We multi-class and go into rogue. So at level 1 rogue, we do get a skill proficiency. As I don't use the monk class as a rogue. I use Stallion for that on his build. So at this point, we can go down, and pick up perception to help spot traps, etc. for our trap disarmer. In this case would be a Stallion. And then for expertise, we will take acrobatics to stop us being shoved. So that, along with our dexterity bonus, should help us being shoved. And then we also pick up further perception, again, just to help those traps. You could take survival if you wished, but in Act 3 there are very few dirt mounds to find, and the ones that are around I find in my plethora of playthroughs. I've got another one coming up shortly where I go through everything, and yeah, so that's the only choice. Again, as per patch 7, it is pointless taking anything else, not that we can expertise in them anyway. So we stay in rogue for 4 levels, so we just get the cunning actions there, which can be handy depending on what you're doing. Again, that's Searing Smite because we're a tiefling. Into level 3, and of course we are staying rogue thief to get that second bonus action. At that point you can either do 2 topples, or you could Step and Wind dash to get some movability and then topple, etc. The list goes on. You get the idea. We get a second bonus action, or in the unlikely event that you need to heal, you can take a potion. Rogue level 4 then, we will then pick up our first feat. This is a level 10 respec as a reminder, so we're already level 10, so we just whip through them. So we pick up Tavern Brawler again and get that constitution up to 16. That's it, we are done with rogue, so we go back to our monk and we complete to level 10. It's exactly the same as we've just done on the level 1 to 10. Nothing changes, so we'll just quickly go through it. Monk leveling is one of the fastest you can do. It's generally next level and accept, really. So that's it. That's our level 10. We are now back up to level 10. So just pop out of the leveling screen for a moment. And at this juncture, you can see here we've got our warrior topple bows. There's our unarmed attack, unarmed strike, patient defense, cunning action, dash, thaumaturgy because it's Karlach, she gets that. There's the push. There's the slow fall activated. There's the wind, dash, staggers over there. This is on the Xbox controller, by the way. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Jump and all the other skills that are there. And then once you hit the lofty heights of level 11 and 12, it is just monk. So monk level 7 and monk level 8, bringing us to the final level, level 12, where we take ability improvement and bump our wisdom up to 19. And that's it. That covers all of our leveling. Level 4 respec, level 4 to 10, and then the level 10 respec, and that's it. That is how we level on this build. And now we move it to the more exciting gear section. So let's get into the gear then. Now, before we go any further, this is just as a disclaimer. There is better gear for this build. However, this build guide series will cover a build for every companion excluding Mindflayer and without needing to swap gear or overlapping gear. Therefore, I have chosen the gear best for the build without using gear from other builds. So there's that disclaimer. And now let's get into the gear. So the first piece of gear we pick up for this build will be the Moondrop pendant. This is in a spoilers. I'm going to tell you where all the gear comes from. If you don't wish to know where all the gear comes from, then I'm really sorry, but it's the only way I can do my build guides. So with that disclaimer out of the way, Moondrop pendant can be found in a arcane locked chest in the Owlbear Cave, and it is, all things considered, the best amulet that we can get until the end of Act 3. So we pop that on, and then we can pick up the hunting shortbow from Damon in the Druid Grove. So we pop that on. The only reason we don't use ranged attacks, very rarely do we use ranged attacks on this build. However, we do use it for the Feller of Monsters, giving us advantage against monstrosity type creatures, which carries over to our unarmed attacks. At the same time, we're in the Druid Grove, we bump into Auntie Ethel, which allows us to start purchasing elixirs of giant strength. These raise our strength to 21, giving us a +5 bonus. So Tavern Brawler, which doubles our strength modifier to hit and damage with unarmed attacks, now gives us +10 to hit and +10 to damage. Also, she may also sell Hill Giant Fingers, which is you need 3 of to make the salts to make Elixir of Giant Strength. Whilst in the wilderness, you need to be looking out for Bollywug Trumpets. That's the first one that comes along that combine 3 of them to make a suspension, which looks something like this. And then you need 1 suspension, 1 salt of Hill Giant Fingers, and that will give you 1 elixir of Hill Giant Strength. And you need to drink one of these after every single long rest. If you don't, you will find out that this build absolutely sucks, because our strength is 8 and we will do no damage. After that then we move on, we pop into the swamp area and pick up from a chest the Sparkle Hands, which starts generating us lightning charges, and in addition, if we do have lightning charges, we get advantage against things wearing metal armor and constructs. Great paragraphs to carry us through to endgame. From there, you go into Druid Grove, speak to Mole, you can complete a quest, I won't tell you which one, and then upon completion she will give you the Ring of Protection, which we hold on to for dear life because it's absolutely amazing and this is the best build to have this ring on. Another quest completion around about the same time, and you'll pick up the Robe of Summer, replacing our simple robe that we've had on forever. There we go. The only difference between having the Robe of Summer is because it's got that resistance to cold damage, we start coming into contact with enemies with that horrible ice knife. So we'll take a little bit less damage and hopefully we won't get frozen and or knocked on our butts from being prone ourselves. Moving on then into the Underdark, down into the Myconid colony, and we have a little conversation with Blurg, and we pick up the Lifebringer. We pop that on, and now because we're generating lightning charges, we'll also get 3 temporary hit points. Not great, but it's a helm. It doesn't cost that great amount of gold, and it's 3 temporary hit points for pretty much entirety of any combat you're in, and they refresh every time you hit something and generate those lightning charges. It doesn't matter how many lightning charges you have, and as long as you have at least one, you will get 3 temporary life. Unfortunately, one piece of gear is missing from my collection. I think I must have sold it or something, and that is the Property Sparks Wall. There we go. Thank you to Baldur's Gate 3 Wiki for having our backs covered. So we picked this up from Grimoforge, and there's a chest, and here it gives you the coordinates. This will all be on the file down below. So it's still cloth armor, which is what we need because to get our movement bonuses, etc, etc. So it gives armor class of 10. We don't worry about the spell casting because we're not a spellcaster, but it does give us +1 armor class saving throws as long as we have lightning charges, and thanks to our gloves we are generating lightning charges. So we then end up in transitioning from the first part of Act 1 into what I call Act 1.5. That is the Githyanki Crash and the Rosy Morn Monastery. I call that Act 1.5. It's not technically Act 1 because it's a change in region, and not technically Act 2 either. It's between, so Act 1.5. From the trader there, Lady Esther, we can pick up the Graceful Cloth, which is an absolute awesome upgrade. We're no longer taking a lot of cold damage, so this becomes kind of pointless. But we do pick up the Graceful Cloth, which gives us Cat's Grace, advantage on dex stuff, and also gives us +2 dexterity, giving us a dexterity of 20. Absolutely amazing. Also increases our jump distance, so when we're using Step of the Wind Dash for unlimited jumps, yep, we're jumping that a little bit further. Fantastic. After that then, we are absolutely into Act 2, and from there we go and have a conversation with the last Light Inn traders, specifically Tali and Damon, and we pick up the Cloak of Protection, boop, giving us +1 arm class and saving throw, and we also pick up the Dark Fire short bow for the resistant to cold damage and the haste buff. Bye bye to our faithful hunting short bow. So now we've got our end game bow, we've got an end game ring, and that's it so far. We've only got 2 pieces of our end game gear. Moving through Act 2, you meet some more traders, various rounds, and we pick up the Ring of Free Action. That completes our ring set. We take this because we ignore the effects of difficult terrain, cannot be paralysed and restrained. We get that at level 9 monk, but we don't reach that lofty heights as a monk, so we stop at level 6 because we take 4 rogue for that feat and extra bonus action. So this ring is quite tasty for that kind of stuff, allowing us to keep our boot slot open. At the end of Act 2, transitioning to Act 3, you'll have an event. You'll have to kill some enemies, and on one of them you'll need to loot, and that will give us the Boots of Uninhibited Kishigo, dealing damage equal to our Wisdom modifier, which is why we have our Wisdom so high. There we go. So our end-game gear is coming together, slowly but surely. From there then we'll also go into Illithid powers, and I'll cover that in the next section. At the end of that, we are now officially into Act 3. You'll come into this camp and you can do your level 10 respec. As you move through Act 3, you'll meet various traders. I won't give you the names because I'm desperately trying to avoid story spoilers, but I think I've already failed in that one. Anyway, one of them will have the Scabby Pugilist Circlet, because by now the 3 temporary hit points are just not doing anything. So it's we might as well just drop that. We move over to the Scabby Pugilist Circlet. So if we start being surrounded by 2 more enemies, we can start doing a little bit more damage to clear them up. Round about this point as well, you'll be able to upgrade your Elixir. We start looking out for Cloud Giant Fingers. There is a small, rare chance you will find them in Act 2, but they're much more prolific in Act 3. And then you can start collecting Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength Potions, giving you Strength 27. However, I suggest that you only use these in large bosses, because they are quite rare to get hold of, and you're not going to get very many of them. Moving on from there then, we will further progress through Act 3, and we'll change our gloves and we'll move into the Thunder Palm Strikers. These start doing thunder damage, which is awesome, but also gives us Thunder Wave. Now I don't usually use the Thunder Wave ability in balance, but in tactician mode, oh, so good, so good. We'd also pick up our in-game cloak. We move off of the cloak of protection and pick up the cloak of displacement. It gives us that much better defense. Every turn activates, giving us disadvantage on attack rolls unless we take damage. So as long as we're not taking damage, then it's there pretty much forever. Brilliant. By completing some end game quests and or making some discoveries of rare loot, we move into our end game gear, and the first one is the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. We go a little bit slower because we lose the dexterity and a little bit of our initiative. However, we get more armor class and we get a way better reaction. Boop. As a reaction now, instead of just punching someone, we can actually use an unarmed strike against an attacker that misses. So if they move out, we opportunity attack with an unarmed strike, and if they miss once per round, we can also hit them, sometimes killing them. Additionally, if we save versus against a spell, we get those 1d4 hit points back and more armor class. So it actually gives us an armor class of 12 as a cloth chest. Awesome. Staying with the cloth, got to have that unarmored defense. By this point, we're investigating, and we come across our amulet, finally getting rid of the Moondrop pendant we picked up so long ago back in Act 1, and we move on to Khaled's gift for that +1 wisdom and giving us a wisdom of 20. Really cool. At this point then, we're moving into the end game, the veritable very end game, where there's only a few quests left before we complete the game, and we come across the Mask of Soul Perception. Pop that on. It looks absolutely horrible. So I generally hide it. There we go. But it does give us a +2 attack rolls, initiative rolls, and perception checks, which is, and if you want to, you can use different tech forts. I use it for the attack rolls and the initiative from the dexterity loss of our chest. And then in one of the final quests, we pick up our legendary gloves, saying bye-bye to the Thunderpalm Strikers and transitioning into the gloves of soul catching, giving us a D10 force damage on our attacks, giving us soul catching, which you can read there, and also tiny right at the bottom we get a further +2 constitution, raising our constitution to 18. Sorry. However, at this point you'll also come across sorry, I've just had a notification on my thing. I apologise, I got distracted. You also come across an ability to increase your stat point by +2 through various things, and we always choose Constitution. So we start with Constitution is 16. We get +2 from our gloves, and then +2 from that memory gain. I'm trying to be very vague here, but I think I might be failing. And that's it. That's all our gear. If you're interested in the cosmetics, well, not necessarily cosmetics, but the other gear, the non-equipment gear, we are using orange dye, not pale orange. They look very similar. This is orange dye. We've equipped Shadowheart's underwear, dyed that blue. We've picked up a pair of pointy toe shoes and some umber trousers, which are also dyed blue, but you can't see them. If we quickly switch over to the controller, there we go, and we pop into the character sheet over here. That's what she looks like in that clothing. She's got a pointed shoes on, her blue trousers, and then the top part is part of the underwear. So that's all done, and we'll move into a combat demonstration now. Just before we get into the combat demonstration, this is the mind of Karlach. We made her partial Illithid, mainly so we can get that nice fly ability here. And it makes these 5 skills completely free. Any tadpoles spent on them get refunded, and then from that refund of tadpoles we spend 1 and get luck of the far realms. Other than that, that's it. There's no other Illithid powers that are used to us, because they all require an action, and we do so much more damage with our actions than any of these abilities can possibly give us. However, once you've done all your main characters and main powers, if you have any spare tadpoles left, you could open up Shield of Thralls to help out your teammates, specifically for tactician mode. Or if you just wanted to throw around more topples, you could go through the Shield of Thralls, not necessarily to use it, but as a travelling point to get down to free cast, giving you a free topple rather than using a key point. So that's the tadpoles done. Here we are then in a favoured spot to test out builds. This is just off the Heapside Strand into an entrance down into the sewers. I have used my Tav, who is a bard, to cast Long Strider on Karlach, and we've sucked on an Elixir of Giant Strength, giving us a strength of 21. The only other buff that is missing is the buff from Hero's Feast, level 6 Conjuration spell, which means that Karlach would not be able to be poisoned, diseased, or frightened, have an additional 12 hit points, and any wisdom saves would be made with advantage. However, I don't think that's really relevant in this little demonstration. This is in balanced mode. There are multiple enemies that we will aggro. This is a solo fight. I've popped my Tav out of the way so they will not be engaged. So yeah, other than that, let's just punch someone and get this combat started. We'll start with Sparks Musgarvel.
You're not gonna like this, mate.
We're going to use that straight away to get it out. I would normally, if it was a boss, I would use it straight away. Bump. There we go. We've got a fight on our hands. So we've punched them, and now we're going to go in for our topple as soon as I can find it. Stagger. Topple's there. One down. That's that one done, and then we'll topple again. Have I got my manifestations up? Nope, I haven't. That's why our damage is particularly pants. Right, now we've got our manifestation up. Just let them have all their actions. Still haven't been hit yet, so we've got our cloak of displacements up and running. Here comes Berserker. There's the Greater Kashigo counter from our body armor, so we'll hit them. And we hold a 1. Oh, but they got a 20 there. Yes. That hurt. Oh, did some damage. Alright then. So we're just going to get rid of this one with a punch. There's that. There's the missing damage. We've got advantage on this one. They're on the floor. I'll just finish them off. And then we'll go over to this little archer and look at our key points. Topple again. Oh, 3 left. Let's see what the 2 archers do. Not much. And that's why we have acrobatics, to stop being shoved away. Oh, here we go. This is the deflect missiles. So there we go. There it is. If we reduce the damage to 0, we can use a key point to deflect. So that's what we're going to do. Ah. That's both of our reactions roll a 1. The game's trying to tell me something. Right, let's just finish this one off. And then we'll use our partial Illithid fly ability to ruin their day. So we've got 66 and 66 as well. Right. Let's topple this one. Oh man, the amount of ones we're rolling. And we're just gonna use the bonus action unarmed strike to finish it off. There we go. Another little bit of a fly. Up we go. Straight into the topple. On the floor they go. And we're all done. I will admit we've used most of our key points there, but they come back on a short rest, so it's not too much of an issue, and it's also multiple enemies. Normally with this many enemies, obviously I'd have 3 more party members, that fight would be over a lot sooner, and with a lot less resources used by one character. Additionally, we are only running an elixir of 21 and not 27. Plus, for the first 2 hits, I forgot to add on my manifestation of the soul, doing that additional radiant damage. But other than that, fight went pretty well. That's the combat demonstration. Let's move to the outro. And that's the end of the guide. We've covered the leveling, the level 4 respec leveling all the way to level 10, then the level 10 respec, all of the gearing as you progress through the game, combat demonstration, the partial Illithid Tadpole powers, and dies plus clothes, etc. I hope you enjoyed this build guide. This is build guide number 2 in a series. Number 3 I hope to have out within the next week or so, maybe less, depending on various factors. For now though, for this video it's done. and I will hopefully see you in the YouTube live streams. I am starting a new balanced game mode series. I have improved some builds, not this one, this one's brilliant. And we will go through that. It will be done as a walkthrough, a let's play with me if you like, where I'm going to try and explain pretty much everything, and nothing will be unrecorded. Every aspect of gameplay will be recorded live here on YouTube starting very soon. But for now, I am done.